I don't think I'm going to show the 10-minute timer countdown thing with the alarm. I picked the one with the alarm today to make sure I started, though, on time. But for the last 15 seconds, I don't think it matters that much if we have the countdown timer. So who can count down from 10? No. Okay. Too early. Anybody do anything fun for the long weekend? Anybody do anything fun for the long week? What do you got? Went to Vermont and watched your cousin race. Was it like a ski race?
No,
a car race. Where'd you go then? Thunder Road. Sweet. Did your cousin win, lose?
No.
That happens in car racing. That happens. I actually, what was it, Saturday night? I watched the, what was the NASCAR race this weekend? Southern something camping. Anybody know the name of the race? It was at Darlington. I don't know. But I watched the live camera feed from Kevin Harvick's car for the entire race with the big screen. It was kind of cool. I've like watched a little bit of that before, but that was kind of fun. Anybody into car racing besides his cousin and me? Well, yeah. What kind of car racing do you like? What's that? European stuff. You raised your hand too, right? Yes. What kind of car racing do you like?
Rally racing?
Rally racing? Yeah, I always wanted to be a rally driver. I think I could do it. Or at least I think I could have done it back when I was younger and I had good reflexes. All right. I think everybody's here. Let's see if I can mute this microphone thing that's talking to the ceiling. Not the main volume. Actually, I can do that. Is it still talking to the ceiling? Sweet. All right. All right. This M1800. What are we talking about today? Did you guys notice that I switched the schedule around? This was what we were going to do on Wednesday this week, but then some of you don't have lecture on Wednesday. Well, you do. You have 2 lectures at the same time on Wednesday. I decided I would do this one today, and we have a handful. Yeah, well, I don't know, a large hand. There are a handful of people who are absent from class today because they tested positive for COVID or were a close contact to somebody that tested positive for COVID. So I'm going to try to make sure that we have a lot of good online content. I guess the school knows how to reach out to you if you were a close contact. So I'm going to decide that I'm not, since the school hasn't reached out to me. I'm going to stay up here and keep talking. All right. Today, we don't need to share the screen. Stop sharing. I'll just change this to this one. All right. That's transparent to you guys, but it helps me. Move this over here. Hey, anybody here into haikus? This was on the board when we came in. I think it's pretty good haiku. Who agrees or disagrees with the statement at the bottom there? That's the ones I wanted. So it said this line is only 6 syllables and it's an invalid haiku. Is that true or not? What's the rule for haiku? 575. So if this is 6 syllables, is it a haiku? It turns out, amazingly enough, I've researched this. And according to most American scholars, it doesn't matter. Because the haiku rules were created for writing the poem in Japanese. If you're writing the poem in English, you can use poetic license. But if you wanted to conform to the rules, what would you do? Yeah, make that an I, right? There, perfect, fixed. You may or may not know this, but I have a volume of haikus. And Thursday's lecture starts with a haiku. I used to start all lectures with a haiku. And I used to do a contest during the class where I had you guys write haikus. But I don't do that anymore. So that's less important. Okay. Well, look at that. There's 5 people watching online. Those must be the people that are out with COVID. Hi, watching online people. Can you hear me? Sweet. Who watched the remake of the video with no audio? Yeah. That was painful to create. Was it painful to watch? Okay. It was much shorter than the lecture, huh? I sped some of it up to 10 times. Actually, one clip was 20 times normal speed. It says, well, here I think I was talking about something like this, and that's probably important, so you should know it. Okay. Group project. We're going to talk about the details of the group project at the end of class. What's your name?
Heather.
Heather, can you see a clock? Okay. Make sure that at 20 minutes to the hour, so at 8:40, you tell me to start talking about the details of the group project. Until then, we're going to talk about stuff that you're going to want to know when you're doing the group project. All right, so I'll tell you right now that the group project, in the group project, you and your group will create a business plan for creating a startup company to do manufacturing. The thing that we're going to manufacture, that's details. Okay, you have enough information now that we can get started with the lecture part of this. I may use more than one board. Somebody remind me to move the camera if I start writing on another board. Chalk. Why are we talking about creating a startup company to do manufacturing? Well, because I think it would be a cool lecture topic. But why? Why would I think it would be a cool lecture topic? Yes?
Because we have to consider everything that goes into it.
All right, so we want to consider what goes into it. All right, so we want to consider what goes into it. So what goes into it? I'm listening. I can push buttons and listen at the same time. What goes into creating a startup company to do manufacturing? What's the first thing you need? And actually, this is irrelevant to what the startup company is for. What's the first thing you need if you want to create a startup company to do something? No, that is not first. He said investors for those of you at home. What's the first thing you need? Yeah. You need an idea. Okay. You do not get to choose your own idea for the group project. The idea is that people will want to buy the thermoacoustic engine that we make as the project in ME1800. I'll tell you that right now. You don't get to choose the idea. I mean, if you're actually starting a startup company, you absolutely choose the idea. But for the group project, I have one idea that makes it way easier to grade. All right, after you have an idea, what do you need to create a startup company? All right, so somebody says money. What else do we need besides an idea and money? I'm going to write down what you say, then we'll discuss whether it's true. A means to accomplish your idea, I think, is either too much information or not enough information. What does he mean when he says a means to accomplish your idea? I think I know what he means. Yeah. So we need tools and equipment. Equipped, there's a T there, right? There's an I missing too. IP, yeah. No T. Equipment. No? A few years ago, I couldn't spell engineer, and now I are one. We need tools and equipment. We need an idea. We need money. We need tools and equipment. What else do we need if we're going to create a company to make something? We need a target market. Okay, what else do we need? Employees. What else do we need? Somebody over here had their hand up. Okay, what else do we need? Yes? Stock material. What else do we need? What else do we need? Supplies, not the stock material. Suppliers. So people to buy this from, suppliers. 2 P's? I don't think so. There shouldn't be 2 P's. That violates rules. I took German for 6 years. And if I can pronounce the word, I can spell it every single time. Germans know how to do rules. Mooses, mices, whatever. What else do we need? Suppliers, stock material, target market, distribution, tools and equipment, an idea, and this was first, right? Idea, money, employees. Is that enough? Can we start? I see a glaring miss. Yes. We need a place. Sometimes we call this facilities. And we group in, well, maybe not the tools, but the equipment to the facilities. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. What else do we need? I can think of one other thing that I think is missing, but it may have been implied in what you said and I didn't write down. What did you say again? A means to accomplish our idea, which could be the tools and equipment, the supplies, the target market, the distribution, the money, the employees, the location, all grouped together by a plan. Right? That's why I didn't write your thing down before, because your thing was everything plus plan. Is there anything we've missed that's glaring right now? Yeah. Time. I think as we go through this exercise, we will find that all of these things that we've listed on the board here are functions of time. Time is going to be a factor for sure. Anything else that's glaring that we think we've missed? All right, as we go through the exercise of building our company, we'll see if we add to this picture here. I'm going to see if I can switch boards. I can, but it's totally not in focus. Autofocus. Autofocus. Sometimes rubbing your thumb on the lens. Autofocus. Well, come on. I've never seen this happen. If you could see the screen I could see, you'd see why I've paused. All right, it's focused on my hand. Take my hand away. And it focused on the board. Sweet, that worked. Okay. All right, so the output of your group project is going to be the plan. Okay, so you're going to have a plan, and the purpose of the plan that you create will be to secure the money. Does that make sense? What I asked the question about trust funds already, right? So nobody's going to self-fund their manufacturing startup yet? Okay. So if nothing else, you've got to convince your parents to give you the money. Is that true? So your parents might have all the money that could be in a trust fund, but they haven't put it there for you yet. And even if they did, there'd probably be rules and you wouldn't be able to get it. Certainly not for a crazy idea like creating a startup company to make the part that you learned how to make in ME1800. Okay. When I did this, my plan had to be really good because I had to convince my wife to let me spend the money, which was way harder than getting money out of your parents, believe me. Because she was thinking about kids and food and feeding the food to the kids and all kinds of stuff. There was all kinds of stuff that went into this. All right, so that's the other reason that I think this is a cool exercise. It's because I've been through the exercise, and I'm hoping that next time I do it again, I will have learned something from your ideas so that I can do it better next time. So that's the other reason I think it's a cool exercise. But it's something that I like to talk about and I think is important for all of us who thinks maybe someday they'll start a company. One of you, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe. Some of you maybe will start a company. The number may actually be higher than the people that just raised their hands. But who thinks maybe someday they'll work at a company? Right. So we all think we're going to work at a company. So understanding how companies work can help us in the future. And I think this is a good way to think about the class. All right. So we're going to create a startup company to make the thermoacoustic engine that we build in ME1800. So similar to those kits that you got, right? You guys got kits, right? For lab? Yeah. Except we're going to finish machining all the parts in the kit. Now, you could assemble these and send them out as working units, or you could sell them a kit and they assemble the thermoacoustic engine. What do you guys want to do? Yes. Let's do the kit. All right, so product is the kit. But not the one you guys got. One that's got all the parts machined in it. And all they have to do is assemble it and then light stuff on fire. That is the fun part of the thermoacoustic engine, right? Lighting stuff on fire. We haven't done that. We haven't done that yet, have we? Huh. Not this week in lab. I'll bring one here. We'll light one on fire here. That's fun. Except this term they screwed up. Well, I allowed them to screw up the schedule. It's my fault, right? This term the schedule got screwed up. Normally we would have had lecture in this room on Tuesday and Thursday and a conference in Washburn 229 on Wednesday in A term. I don't know why they switched rooms. It's better to do it all in one room, but it was easier for me to then bring stuff and light it on fire in Washburn 229 because I could wheel it on a cart up the elevator. But I get fire in this room. Okay, our product is the kit. for right now, we're going to assume that there is a market. What do we need? So as we're building our plan, and these are the things we've decided we need, we're writing the plan to get the money. So ultimately, we're going to need to know how much money, right? So how much money is over here? So we're trying to find out how much money. There's different kinds of money, right? Well, there are different kinds of money. There's what? There's like Bitcoin, and there's euros, and there's yen. No, that's not what I mean. The different kinds of money we're going to talk about here are capital. So capital money, that's the money you invest up front, say buying the land and the building, if you're going to own the location, buying the machine tools, buying some of the tools and tooling, although a lot of the tools and tooling wouldn't be capital money. So that's capital money. That's the money. You've all heard of the word capitalist. The capitalist is the person who supplies the capital that creates the companies, that employ the people that get paid. Okay, so we need capital. We need operating money. For how long? Yes. Till you can start making a profit, right? Is it until you can start making a profit? So how long did Amazon keep taking in capital money? Have they released new shares lately? I don't know. I don't pay attention. But certainly for 10 years, their operations were funded out of getting new capital, right? Because they operated at a loss year after year after year after year, right? Does it make sense that a lot of startup companies operate at a loss in the beginning, right? Okay, so we need capital money, we need operating money. Let's say we borrow the capital money. So we go, somebody said investors when we were over here, right? So we go borrow the capital money from an investor. How soon does the investor want their money back? Yeah. As soon as possible, but that's not necessarily true. They've got a number in their mind usually. Yeah. It depends on what kind of returns you're promising. It depends on what industry you're in. Yeah, go ahead. Right. They don't just want their money back, right? They want more than their money back. That's why they've decided to give it to you to use. And they may collect more than their money back by getting shares in the company and getting profits over time. They may get more than their money back by charging you interest on the money they give you. Right? You had your hand up? No? My imagination. Okay. All right. So in manufacturing, investors tend to want their money back in 3 years. Because then they want to take that money and put it in some other venture. So our business plan is going to project out for 3 years. So we're going to project our business plan out for 3 years. All right, so we need a location. How do we find a location? And I arbitrarily picked location to start with. Maybe it's not the right choice. But it feels like in order to get all the other stuff, I need a shipping address. And let me tell you, it feels really cool when you set up your desk for the first time in that empty warehouse space. And it's like you have a 5,000 square foot office because you don't have any equipment yet, but you do have a desk. And you can put your name on the door and you can declare yourself founder and CEO. That's super cool. Right up until you have to start writing checks. All right, so 3 years. Let's pick a location. How do you find a location?
For example, if you like to open a manufacturing company, you want that the electricity cost between both, so you buy electricity.
Okay, that's really smart. We left that off over here. Utilities. Find a place where power is cheap. A lot of people forget to do that. Massachusetts, for example, power is not cheap. But South Carolina, North Carolina, power tends to be cheaper. Besides power, the cost of power, if we could do this anywhere in the world, besides the cost of power, what else would we consider on location? Cost of labor and insurance at that location. What else might we consider? We left insurance off this list too, but I was going to get to it.
You might consider the weather.
The weather. So whether or not the trucks delivering your supplies or taking your parts to their customers can get in and out, that's one reason to consider the weather. But also, where do you want to live? That's another reason to consider the weather. Somebody back here had their hands up. Yeah. Can you find the employees in the location where you want to do it? Those are all good things to consider. Anybody else? Yeah. How close are you to your customers? That's especially important if you're doing something like a service business or a job shop or something like that, where you physically interact with your customers on site. A lot of times if we're creating a product and selling it somewhere with FedEx and UPS and all this, that may be less important. It's really how close are you to the shipping facilities and the things. But that's certainly something you want to consider, especially if you want to bring your customers on site or go visit them. Yes. So yeah, access to supplies, access to all those things. So those are all really important things to consider with location. So in your group project, you will pick a location. Once you've picked a general area for your location where you want to be, how do you find the building you're going to rent or buy? I'm going to give you a resource. LoopNet. Go to loopnet.com. You can research areas. They will tell you, now, don't call the realtors that are listing the property. This is a class project. Okay, so don't go bug the realtors and have them show you the building, for example, unless you're really thinking you're going to make a plan and go find some investors. And if you do that, I'm happy to talk to you. You're going to need to diversify your product line besides this one product. But go to LoopNet to find out about real estate. You can decide you want to do it. So despite the fact that power and taxes are kind of high in Massachusetts, despite that fact, it's not as bad as California. You may decide you want to do it for some other reason. Maybe it's because it's the place you want to live. You just got to figure out how to make your budget work if that's what you choose. So you can find a location with LoopNet. Before you can actually get the location, though, what else do you need to know? Yeah. Well, so you're going to figure out the budget based on that. So you may have in your mind a cap. I'm not going to spend more than this amount. But I think we can leave that flexible right now, because at this point, we need to find out how much it would cost. And that's really the goal of making this plan, is for you to understand the cost that goes into creating something like this. How much it would cost. You need to know how big, right? Because it's different. I mean, it's just like when you guys are finding a location to live when you're at WPI, a 1-bedroom apartment or a 5-bedroom apartment aren't the same cost, right? So you're going to need to know how big. How do you decide how big? Because I know of a space in Worcester that's got really cheap rent. It's 50 cents a square foot per year. That's really cheap rent. The problem is you have to take the whole thing, and it's something like 170,000 square feet. So you probably don't need 170,000 square feet for your startup business, right? Okay. So how do you decide how many square feet you do need? Yes.
You have an idea of what scale you're going to need.
Right. So you've got to decide, I guess, what scale, how quickly you think you can sell to your target market, and then how many machines it takes to make the parts that quickly, and how much assembly room you need, how much space you're going to need for office staff, things like that. So you kind of need this information at the beginning, but at the same time, you need to have figured out the other things that you need. So based on your experience in lab so far, what kind of machine tools do you think you'll need to make the thermoacoustic Stirling engine? Yes.
A lathe and a CNC.
A lathe or turning center and a mill or horizontal or vertical machining center, right? So we need it. I would definitely get a CNC lathe. So we need a mill and a lathe. And you say that because those are the things we've been teaching you how to use in the lab, right? So based on your experience in lab, now, might you need some other equipment, do you think? Yeah. So you need some hand tools. What else do you think we might need? Yeah.
So the stock metal, it would like come in probably long strips, right? So you're expecting to cut it from
So you can order the stock material in many different ways. You could order it pre-cut by the stock material supplier to the chunks that you're putting in the machine tool. And they charge you 50 cents a cut. $2.50 a cut. I don't know. It depends on how many cuts you're getting. Or you could order it in bar lengths, which are 12 to 20 feet, depending on which bars you're getting and who your supplier is. You can order it in bar lengths, and then you need to prepare it before you put it in the machine tool. So, yeah. I recommend buying the test tubes, but you could be vertically integrated and you could manufacture the test tubes. For this exercise, let's buy the test tubes, because we're probably also going to buy the steel wool. Although I've had plenty of people tell me that they think we could make the steel wool by creating chips in the lathe. So some hand tools, maybe a bandsaw. Or a cold cut saw. Cold cut saw. Who's ever done like home construction? Like, or seen people doing construction? Who's ever built something in their garage? Have you used one of those chop saws where you go like this and you slide the board along and you go like this? That's how a cold cut saw works. But don't just go to Home Depot and buy a cheapo chop saw. There's different speeds and stiffnesses and things like that. Good cold cut saw is like $10,000. Whereas, what, $120 you can get a chop saw at Home Depot? Yeah. So, yeah.
Why do they call it a cold cut saw?
Yes. I'm sure we could figure it out. I don't know. Ooh, that's a meat slicer. That's totally a meat slicer. However, I have been to the Viking seafood plant where they make like frozen like fish patties and stuff like that. And they use the same model bandsaw that we have here for cutting up the frozen fish. I don't believe they previously used it to cut metal. I think its whole life it was cutting frozen fish. But just like the bandsaws that we use here, they cut them up. That was an amazing thing. If you ever get a chance to visit factories like this and things, you should do that. Any offer you get, go do those things. So you're going to want something to prep the stock. You're gonna want some hand tools, a lathe and a mill. What else? Yeah. Say again? So you need some benches. So some places to do assembly work, to do some packaging work, to put your stuff in the box and ship it. What else? Yeah. Metrology equipment. One of my best friends, when he first started his company, he was back, he's a WPI alum, graduated in class of 65. He finished his master's here in 65. When he created his first company, they leased space in like this industrial park. And next door to him was like the industrial supplier. So his business got robbed one night. And they went in and they stole all of the metrology equipment. Because that's the stuff that's laying around that's easy to pick up that is very high value. And for the next 3 months, he borrowed stuff from the store next door to do his measurements until he could afford to buy new stuff. So when you said that, I immediately pictured my friend Ron knocking on the door next door and being like, I really need some calipers and I can't afford to buy them. That's my other advice for startups. Beg, borrow, and steal as much as possible. When we started our company, we bought one piece of office furniture. Everything else was begged, borrowed, or stolen. Borrowed, tactically acquired, right? That's the word, tactically acquired. The one piece of furniture was a folding sofa bed. Because I knew that I'd be spending a lot of time in the office. And even though it was 15 minutes from the house, sometimes those 15 minutes were important. Because it's 15 minutes each way. If you're going to make a round trip, you might as well just take a nap. All right, so we need a lathe, we need a mill. Now, how quickly can we sell them is important, right? So we've got a target market. How quickly we can sell them is going to determine how many of these we need, right? So the faster we can sell them, the more capacity we're going to need. So we made that Y block. What was it? 10 minutes, 8 minutes? Call it 10 minutes for a round figure. So if you were going to make Y blocks all day long, you could have a mill making Y blocks all day long, and every 10 minutes you'd have one. So that's called the tack time. We talk about lean manufacturing next 2 weeks from now. We'll investigate tack time, but tack time is how quickly the parts come off the machine or out of the factory, out of the line. So if every 10 minutes, I think that's the longest cycle time of any of the parts. Assembly may be a little bit longer than 10 minutes, but I bet you once you get good at it, you can do it in 10 minutes. So if with one mill we can make a Y block every 10 minutes, there's the base part also that needs to get cut on a mill. So we could make a Stirling engine every 20 minutes maybe. It's two main components that come on a mill. If it takes 10 minutes to make each one, then every 20 minutes we could make a Stirling engine if we had one mill. Is that true? Or because the lathe parts are quick, they're not going to overload the capacity. Or we could get 2 mills and make a part every 10 minutes, right? With 4 mills every 5 minutes, right? So depending on how quickly we could sell them, do we want to make them faster than we can sell them? If you do want to make them faster than you can sell them because you want to build inventory, then you're going to need more space because you're going to need a place to keep that inventory, right? So our best plan, and we'll learn this when we study lean manufacturing again, our best plan will be to make them at the rate we can sell them. So you're going to have to decide, not today, because you don't have enough experience yet, not today, but you're going to have to decide how many mills, how many lathes, And based on that, you'll be able to decide how big because they have a footprint. And you can know what the footprint is. You can make a layout of your plant, of your factory. All right, so lathe, mill, hand tools. For both the lathe and the mill, let's see if we can. That was not going to be zoomed in as much. Oh, wait, this will move. It's 8:40. Okay. I didn't really do this the way I planned. I've been talking about what we're going to do for the assignment. Yeah. Say again?
How expensive would it be to say wrap the lathe and mill?
We could buy these. And if we buy them, it's with capital money. We could lease them. If we lease them, it's with operating money. That's important when it comes time to do your taxes. So to lease them, if you go online to any car lease or any loan company or something like that, you can type in commercial lease. It'll come up with a commercial lease calculator. You could pick like a 3-year or a 5-year lease. Actually, do 3-year because we want to have our business plan be about 3 years. If you pick a 3-year lease, it'll figure out the payments. It's just like leasing a car. So you can figure that out. So it's going to depend on the cost of the machine. So those mini mills that we're using in lab cost somewhere between $30,000 and $60,000. The lathes that we're using cost somewhere between $45,000 and $70,000, depending on which options you get and things like that. And so then it's like spreading that out over 3 years to answer that question. But that'll be part of the research you do to make your plan. Yep.
Does insuring your equipment and your tools, does that make a big difference in terms of like how much money you have to put in?
It will impact how much it costs to operate. And so, yes, it makes an impact on how much money you have to put in because you don't have any profit at the beginning, right? So the amount that you ask for in your business plan has got to include enough to operate for 3 years and pay the investors back. Very quickly, lathe and mill. Besides that, you need tooling, right? So that's different from hand tools. But we need tooling, which includes tool holders, and tools. Tool holders and tools are consumable items. The tools more so than the tool holders, but both of them wear out over time. But you can't start without it. So tool holders cost anywhere from $125 to, I don't know, $1,000, depending on which one you get, what speeds it's rated for. The tools we use here, not counting the little drills, but the carbide end mills that we're using are costing anywhere from $50 to $150 each. And so we'll have you research this stuff, research the tooling and tool holders so that you know how to outfit your lathe and your mill, and you'll know how much it's going to cost to get started, right? So before we can make the first Stirling engine or thermoacoustic engine, we model it with the Stirling cycle though. Before we can make our first engine and sell it to our first customer, we need to get the location. We need to get the tools and tooling. We need to get the metrology equipment. We need to get the tooling. And we need to make the first one. And we'll need packaging and stuff like that too, right? We'll need boxes and stuff to ship it in. So how much does it cost to make the first part? Any guesses? Yeah.
$1 million?
I've seen guesses I've seen plans that presented all the way from $150,000 to $3 million from this class. I don't believe the $150,000. I think I'd do it for about $65,000. And if anybody presents a plan that figures out how to do it for about 65,000, maybe 100,000, somewhere between 65 and 100,000, that'll be worth, I don't know. If it's a well-written plan, it's going to be worth an A. it'll be worth a bonus on your final exam grade if you figure out the way that I think I could do it cheap. I'm not going to tell you until we're done because that would be cheating. Don't shout it out if you know the answer. Yeah, go ahead.
If you already have a machine shop and all I have is an idea, how much is it just to get one part? If you have to do all the plan and everything.
So you've got the idea and the design,
And you have the shop.
and I have the shop. That's a different lecture. But figure between $60 and $120 an hour for my time. So however long it takes to set up the machine and make the part and put it in a box and ship it to you, it's somewhere between $60 and $120 an hour. What else? Okay. Group project, right? This is a group project. I don't like groups bigger than 3 people. I feel like groups bigger than 3 people, one person never does any work. If there's a 4th person in the group, there's somebody in the group that doesn't do any work. Groups smaller than 3 people, I don't like either. Because, well, if it's 1 person, it's not a group at all. If it's 2 people, they either always agree or always disagree, and nothing ever happens. If there's a 3rd person, then the dynamic changes. So I like groups of 3 people. Not everybody is here today because some of you are home watching online. Hi, people that are home. If you know, I would rather have you choose your own group than have me pre-assign the groups. I've tried it both ways. I find that when I pre-assign the groups, people complain more. When you've chosen your own group, then it's only the few people who couldn't find a group that then ask for help that end up complaining. And nobody likes complaints. I don't like complaints. So I will allow you to choose your own group. You can do that right now as the class ends. You can do that in lab. And I will set up a discussion forum thread in the Canvas site to, hey, I'm looking for a group, and join the group. Once you have decided who's in your, go ahead.
Do the group members all need to be in the same lab section?
You do not all need to be in the same lab section. It may make it easier for you, but it's certainly not required. There may be some times when there's downtime in the lab and you could work on your project then. We'll be doing more details about the assignment and what you need to hand in as the term goes forward. Once you have, so by the end of this week, you should know who your group is. As part of the end of this week, I'm going to have you tell me who your group is in the what is this, week 2 now? This is officially week 2. So we started with week 0, then week 1 was last week. Week 1 quiz is due tomorrow night. Is that what I said? Yeah. Week 1 quiz is due tomorrow night. I think I'm going to go with Wednesday nights for the due dates on the quizzes and post the quizzes, try to post them by Friday. So you have the weekend to think about it. You can work on it Monday, Tuesday. And we have class on Tuesday, so you could ask about it if there's something unclear. Yes, I know that some of the questions do not automatically grade correctly. If you know that you know the correct answer, put the correct answer. That's the one that's going to get points in the final grading. I will have to go through and manually fix the ones that are misgraded, though, because Canvas doesn't let you fix it once somebody's looked at it. So there are some quiz questions. The one about G00, I think, or MO9 or something. I don't know. 2 people have emailed me with different questions that were not graded correctly. So if you think you have the right answer, put that answer, not the one that scores correctly if you're redoing the quiz. Should allow unlimited attempts. But there's a group of questions, the numeric ones, that you don't always get the same question twice in a row.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the same question, but different numbers. So yeah. So that those look up. And before lab, so no lab today. No lab yesterday. No lab Tuesday. We will have lab on Wednesday and Thursday. That way you guys all stay on the same sequence. Otherwise, it's impossible to set the labs up.
So we switch the lab session.
No lab today. You have lab on Wednesday if you're normally on Monday and Wednesday, and you have lab on Thursday if you're normally on Tuesday and Thursday.
But we only have one lab.
Only one lab this week. And there are lab instructions which you should watch the video before you come to lab. I will email the group when the video is available. I'm almost done editing the video. It's a brand new lab. We've never done it before. So it'll be important that you watch the video before coming to lab so that you know what we expect you to do, because the PLAs aren't going to know either. At least people first thing on Wednesday. It's a really good lab, though. I like it. And I'm the star of the video, so I like it for that reason, too. All right. Thanks, everybody. I will see you guys tomorrow in here, 8 o'clock, or tomorrow right here, same bat time, same bat channel.
Thank you.